Welcome to Talking Trail, a podcast about trail running in the Blue Mountains by a few Blue Mountains trail runners. Welcome, Rob. Welcome, Sarah.
Hello.
I feel like I didn't get the uniform.
Didn't get the memo. So we are
uniform.
wearing the latest 2025 version of the Mount Solitary Ultra. So we all competed in that. So that on the weekend, we're all a bit stiff and sore, or certainly I am.
Yeah.
It was a fun, 45k, 2,500 meters elevation.
Yeah.
Into the Running Wild Series event.
It was so good for it to be back on again. I know so many people were excited about it, and it never disappoints in terms of what the race.
I really thought it had everything. You know, I know, Sarah, when you asked me this afternoon how was the race, I was like, I was reminded of Charles Dickens. You know, this was during the race. You know, the opening. I can't remember which book it is, where it says it was the best of times and the worst of times. You know? And I had the best of times. Like I had a big smile on my face the whole day, and I just felt so alive. And it was just great to be back racing because I hadn't really done a race since, Blue Goat, but that's a different style of racing. Like you're not really running hard ever. You're always sort of walking and running a bit and staying in control because you're trying to hold on. So if I were a backyard, I hadn't done a proper race for it. Just felt like so long. And then, Solitary, going over the top of Mount Solitary is amazing, and not many people get to do that.
And did you guys notice that we were above the clouds for a while?
There were so many times I was like, taking a photo with my head, but I couldn't get my phone out. Actually, I got my phone out at one stage, and I don't know what had happened. It had shifted inside my pack, and it must have been pressing on the screen enough. I don't know if it was gels or what was, and it said 291 seconds to open, like it had been, it tried too many attempts while it was in the phone, because I was going to stop and get a photo. It's like, oh, forget that.
That shows the technicalness at the top of
that's right. But there was so many, trees down, going through some new sections of landslide. It was there were so many really tricky parts. Coral knife edge. Every time I do it, I've forgotten how tough some of that is, and how
it's really hands and
precarious it is.
Sliding down on your butt, down the rocks,
and not wanting to hold up the people behind you, but not wanting to topple forward and go off a cliff or anything.
Exactly.
So for me, it's just one of those races that has absolutely everything, because you've got like the big wide fire trail that you can run fast or you can climb up slow or whatever. But all this technical stuff. What about for you?
Yeah, look, it was.
Well, we should say, so Sarah, we're running royalty here with your fantastic win at the Solitary.
Big round of applause. There's a few more runners, but I can't see the bibs on the other runners. We certainly know the first one is Sarah Levitt. Coming on strong, fifth across the line, first in the winners' race today. Congratulations, Sarah.
Yes, Sarah.
Woo! Further run from the beginning all the way through.
Woo! Yes, Sarah.
Great work, Sarah. 5 hours.
Yes, Sarah. Woo! Yeah.
Congratulations, great run.
I was going to say we're interviewing other people today as
well. We'll start with you.
While we're talking about Mount Solitary, we'll skip some other races that have occurred in the last month or so. Let's talk about Mount Solitary Ultra.
Oh, look, we're all trail runners. You have those races, which the last two races haven't worked, didn't nail nutrition, have the engine. This race was the unicorn. It was beautiful. I felt so strong. Had just the best time out there. Like the volunteers were so kind. The view was amazing. I'm not super used to that technical over the top of Solitary. Like I was with this guy trying to cross the top, and you just kind of like run through some bushes and like hope that that's the trail.
There's a trail there, yeah. It's very overgrown.
It's pretty overgrown, and so I enjoyed it, but it was a bit of like like crap, I hope this is like the way and it's not like a cliff edge. So no, I just had a really good day out. I knew Emily Brunt was behind me, and she definitely wanted the win, so I kind of knew I was being chased, but I kind of spent most of the day with like a couple guys around me, and it's really nice that halfway check-in, like that further stairs, you get up there, there's so many people cheering you, so I felt really great then. And then
there was that photo that Michael took of you, and it looked like you were going through this landslide. At that point, you had a massive smile on your face, and that was where I was cramping. So, so I was like, "Oh, that's how you do it."
You see the light on your face, leaks in the air.
Oh, that was. I haven't done the landslide in so long, so I did enjoy that. But it's always as technical as you remember it.
So you led the whole way then?
Me and Emily did the first few Ks together, and then we had a nice chat before the single trail. I offered it to her, and she said she didn't want to go hard, so I took the single trail and went ahead. And yeah, I didn't see her after that.
I wondered, because of your finish times were so close, whether there was a whole lot of leapfrogging the whole way, or whether one was in front and the other overtook towards the end.
I never knew where she was, but I did, when I was going up Kadumba, I did hear people cheering loudly at some point, and I was like, oh, that's second girl. So like I knew she was coming.
She was not too far behind.
The way that they were wooing, I was like, oh, okay. Like they're telling her that she's just ahead.
Kept you on the way up. Yeah.
Was that the group? There was a group when I was going up Kadumba, and obviously you were quite a bit in front of me, like a couple of hours potentially, but there was this group of walkers, and there were like 5 or 6 of them, males and females, and they were like clapping along and singing really nice, and really yelling out, woohooing everyone, and the massive smiles on their faces. They were loving life,
Yeah.
But it was just such an uplift when we were all like trudging up with the poles. Like,
it was a nice day out in that for you guys. So you would have seen there were so many people doing UTA 22 course, because obviously lots of people are out here for UTA. So you just saw so many people on a course that is usually pretty remote.
The one part was when we came through after going through Echo Point. There was so many tourists there, and just oblivious that there was a race going on. And I think at one point I did have, like, when you're sort of like on your right coming through, and they just don't move. So that was quite good. Apart from that, like, that was the rest of the race was spectacular. I mean,
how was the race for you? Tell us your race.
Well, I set a PB up the top of Solitary, which was great, and I got to the top. And I just had this feeling, as soon as I got to the top, I was like, I don't know, I think I just got sucked in with a whole group of people that clearly do hills probably faster than I should. And I got to the top, and I just had this feeling like that I've just overdone it and cooked myself. I remember thinking, okay, we've got it, like the top of Solitary is a lot harder than a lot of people think or remember. It goes on for quite a bit. Just back off and see, because I had just this slight feeling of, I'd upset my stomach a bit as well. And I was like, oh no. So I was really yelling at myself at that point that I'd done that. As it turned out, because the reason I knew is I looked at my watch, and I was, what I thought was at least 10 minutes faster than I'd ever done it to that point before. And then, so I thought, well, just try and take it easy across the top of Solitary, and then try and recover and just get back into it. And then when I was running on that beautiful single track from I guess Ruin Castle through, I felt like I was recovering, and I felt like things were probably going to go okay. And I felt good, and my heart rate was fine, and everything felt fine until I think there was a tree or something I had to jump over just before the landslide, and I felt my quads just this little like bit of a cramp, and I was like, that's not good. And then when I was going across the landslide, it was my left quad, it cramped. And so then,
but you'd had a lot of electrolyte.
I'd had plenty of electrolyte. I just think I had just gone up the up Solitary too fast.
Nice, Rob. Go, Rob. Killing it, Rob. Nice running, Rob.
Yeah, which was frustrating, because then literally from furthers onwards, I really had to just, I was threatening to cramp the whole way. And I did a couple of times. There was where they did the gear check. That's when this time my right quad went, and it just went, and I ended up just sitting down on at the table, because I had for about 5 minutes just with this leg that looked very angry at me, and the guy was spraying cramp fix down my throat.
So what? There's a spray that you put in?
Apparently, yeah. It may or may not work. It eventually went away. It took about 5 minutes, and then I just had to kind of manage myself back to QVH. So it was a strange feeling, because I was disappointed that I'd done that, but I was also as I was pushing back up Kadumba, I felt like I was starting to recover a bit again, and people had overtaken me, and then I had recaught them, and then I, because they were quite close to me and stuff, when it flattened out and all that sort of stuff, I was able to run away from them and stuff. So I guess that gave me a sense that if I, there's still a good underlying fitness there in the whole thing, and maybe it just got a bit carried away on the day.
Oh, you also raced the week before at Ridgy Didge.
It was probably watching you sprint off at the front that got me all excited.
How about you, Rob? How was your race?
Well, I knew I was going in underdone, so I had no expectations of a PB or anything like that. So I just wanted to just really enjoy it, and I did. So yeah, I was just running down Kadumba, chatting to people, and then got up the climb. I found that the climb up the east face of Mount Solitary was tough because I was in my head the whole time going, should I get the poles out now? Now it looks like a good spot to get the poles out. Oh, no, it's closed in again. Now wouldn't be a good time. I'm glad I didn't get them out. Now it's opened up again. Yeah, it probably would be good. And I kept looking around, and where I was, and admittedly I wasn't in the top 50 at that point, no one behind or in front had poles. By the time I got to the point where you'd be packing them away and you got to use your hands to get up, there were 2 people down below me that had poles, but no one else had poles out. So then it was like, oh, well, no one else is doing it. I'll just be comfortable with my decision to not use the poles. But I thought later, I was like, I should have got the poles out earlier.
Yeah, it's for those steep ascents, right?
But I just thought, oh, no, I'll just use my hands enough for that. Or just stay upright. And there were lots of spots where I was like grabbing hold of tree trunks and things like that. Yeah. Going across the top, I had a bit of fun. So I was running with Tom and Rico, and we were chatting about all sorts of different things, and they were trying to remember the words to Hakuna Matata. But yeah, we were just very distracted from what we were doing. And Tom was like, oh, I'm just here to take photos and enjoy myself. Like, he took off in the end. Yeah. He got a bit competitive. Yeah, and then just there was a spot, and I was up on top of Solitary, and my right foot got caught on a vine or a stick or something, and so I started to like I was tripped, and how you throw your other leg out to stabilize. So I'd thrown my left foot forward straight into the flat face of a rock, and I was like, I instantly saw white light in front of my eyes, and I was like, oh my god, I hope I didn't break something then. And then it was really sore. It's bruised today, like it's purple, but I don't think there's anything major. But it just meant that every downhill, like steps were easy, but every downhill where my foot's sort of sliding into the front of the shoe. That's a lot of the race from that point on. So coming off Corriwall down to Ruin Castle, I was like, oh god, this is killing me. And then Federal was good; it was runnable, and that's why I thought like it can't be too bad because I'm running in sections. And then Sublime Ridge is just so much downhill, but I just had a really great time. I just loved it. And it really told me what I think a run like that is really, really good for telling you or showing you what you're not doing that you should be doing. Yeah. So it was really clear to me based on where I was cramping, where I felt sore, that I knew exactly throughout the road, okay, I need to be doing more Copenhagens. I need to be doing more Bulgarians. I need to be doing more core work. Like I could just
strength sessions.
Absolutely, I could work out my strength sessions that I need to do. That in the past I've done.
And now you're motivated to do them.
Absolutely, yeah. So it was like, I would have had a much better day results wise if I'd done the work. So it's like, you can't hide away from, you can't shirk it. You got to do the work.
But kudos to the event organisers, don't you think? I was just being out there. Right. I had so much gratitude for just like, it takes a lot to put this event on, and they do it not for profit. It's just lovely.
I spoke to Melissa 70 on because we were talking about the trail, the condition of the trail, particularly from Ruin Castle. I made the comment to her. I said, "Oh, you think National Parks would have got out with a chainsaw and cleared up some of those trees?" We asked them, and they said that they've got no plans to go out there. But if Running Wild wanted to pay them to go and clear it out, they could do it. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cheeky. Yeah, like you'd think that they'd clear it up a bit for the events. But apparently, UTA paid for them to clear out the tracks beforehand as well. So there's
someone sets a precedent.
Should we do the rest of the race results? I feel like we haven't talked about the guys.
Okay. So for Mount Sol, so Ronan McNally, which is a name that people who listen to season 1 of our podcast would have heard us mentioning his name quite a number of times.
Came on a summit run, I'm sure.
Yeah, so he took out the win. Chris Stevens came second, and Tom Payton came first.
Summit Gear customer. Yeah. Thanks, Tom.
So he got the Squinters Brewery pack.
Yeah.
As did the lady beside me.
Yeah, it's good. They have a mango fuzz beer.
So in the ladies, we had Sarah came first, Emily Brunt came second, as you'd already mentioned, and Beatrice Ogilvie came third in that Sol. But congrats to Running Wild for putting on an awesome event.
Yeah.
It's back. So that's good.
Hopefully next year and many more years.
And in between Buffalo Stampede events and Mount Solitary Ultra, we also had the Ridgy Didge series of races. So Tony Williams and Blue Mountains Fitness put on, 6 different distances. So you've got everything from the 5K up to 50K. So just quickly, in the 50K, Darcy Lunn and Anne Hand took out the wins there. In the marathon, Tom Payton, who we just mentioned about Mount Solitary, coming third at Mount Sol, had taken out the win in the marathon, and Luke Lifton came first in the marathon as well. In the 30K, we had Hamish Cunningham and Greta Truscott. In the 2K, we had Josh Davies first. We had a very own Rob Inshaw came third.
Finally got a podium.
On the podium.
Everyone kept asking me, was that for your age group? Oh, no, it was actually the podium.
It was a legit one.
It was a real one.
And Olivia Winterton came first in the ladies there. In the 10K, we had Wes Gibson and Tani Hoffman. And in the 5K, Charlie Gibson and Di Kipp.
Congrats.
I've just got to say, because, we're now in that whole UTA season type stuff coming up, and they're fantastic events and the big, marquee events, and they offer something special. But I think, races like Ridgy Didge, these local sort of more grassroots ones, it really did feel kind of its own special. And, it's got much more of a community feel about it. And also what I loved about it was the just that real, I don't know, like that single track, real trail running type race, which,
it's technical, isn't it?
It is,
you go out and
ridges, and it's not just fire trails and stairs and, all the stuff that we often get. But it just felt really, really kind of special in its own way. So I think, just keep supporting these local, more grassroots
events are fun.
They're really fun.
Well,
and the vibe was great. The vibe was great. Awesome. All right.
And should we talk about our interviews for today? We got some great interviews coming up.
Yes, we do. We, I guess on the back, so since our last podcast, we've had the Buffalo Stampede event, and we're lucky enough that we've got 2 fantastic people for an interview. So we've got Michael Dunstan, who won, and we also have Bridie Temple, who came second in the females.
In the 100Ks.
In the 100Ks, yes, 100Ks. And the amazing thing about Bridie, she's only 19. Yeah. So it's fantastic to...
awesome.
Only been really pursuing it for a couple of years and just stepping up to bigger distances each time. And she's got a fantastic future ahead of her. And we talk about that and more. So
here's our interview with Mike and Bridie.
Thanks so much for listening, guys. We are Talking Trail, and please like us on wherever you get your podcasts from. And if you have any questions for us, we're really happy to hear and try to answer them back in the podcast. You can come talk to us through Instagram, the Summit Gear account on Instagram, as well as YouTube. Feel free to ask us any questions.
Beautiful.
Well, welcome, Mike and Bridie, to Talking Trails. I guess we wanted to take the opportunity to have a chat with you after both of you did amazing performances at Buffalo. I guess we'll just start with that. We'll start with you first, Mike. How'd the race play out compared to what you planned? Yeah, tell us a bit about the experience on the day.
Yeah, I feel like the build-up was pretty exciting for Buffalo this year, and obviously knew and had run with a lot of people in the lead-up that knew was going to be racing. Particularly Tyler, I thought would go out quite quick. So I thought maybe I'd be off the back for a while. But when we started, I was actually pleasantly surprised that the starting pace of the race was it was firm, but it wasn't gonna do us in a bit later. And yeah, we had it was really, I guess, quite nice and rainy and really atmospheric conditions in the morning. And yeah, everyone heading up Mystic in a kind of a bunch of maybe 10 people. And yeah, it was good that no one was really running up really hard and Mystic and making you question whether you should go harder or anything. So I think the pace was, just firm and quite talkative and chatty to other people as well. So there was myself, Tyler, Tom Dade, Nick Finch, a relay runner, a whole bunch of others. And then, everyone was quite bunched up. So I think that settled the nerves a lot. And so from there on, it really felt like you were out for a firm session with your mates, which was nice. And so, I think starting in that kind of manner really set the tone for the day and felt like it was really friendly competition. So I think all the nerves and stuff you have about in taper kind of were blown out the window, and it just felt a lot more exciting and fun from there. So I really enjoyed that, and like I missed some nutrition early on, and Tyler and Nick offered me their nutrition, and then I dropped my gel at an aid station, and Tyler waited for me. So I think those little gestures kind of, when you're in the early part of a race and people seem to be looking out for you, I think that goes a long way to be like, I'm surrounded by people who care about you. So my start of my race was kind of, that was the experience, and maybe we thought we were going a little bit too fast, but we were kind of jokingly reassuring each other that we'll be sweet and we'll work together. So how about your, I guess, experience of the start, Bridie?
Yeah, it was such a vibe. I absolutely loved the way it was raining. Like, I feel sometimes the rain really helps you get in your own headspace, just because you can't see what's coming. Like, you can't see anything past that little bubble of head torch, and then there's just all the joy of all these people, showing up just to celebrate. Like, we're all just out there for a good time, and coming through that chute, knowing that Mystics was the first thing, the day kind of started there, I guess. So just jumping through the puddles and getting to that climb, it was unreal. Everything was just so flowy, I guess. Yeah, no one knew what was coming for them.
So we can obviously see the results. And Bridie, it looked like, according to the results, it's like were you out in front at the beginning, or were you running with a pack of people?
No, I was just on my own, and I mean, that was kind of the plan going in. I'm not a great descender, and I was worried how my foot would go. I've had some ongoing stuff with it, and so it was like, kind of just go how you can on the climbs and survive descending. So I was just keen to kind of get away from the pack. I get pretty stressed out around running with others because I'm always on my own. So I tried to just, really focus on being in my own space and running my own pace.
Yeah, right.
Important pre-race. What was your pre-race breakfast, Mike? You first, while we wait for Bridie to come back.
Pre-race brekkie was, I just had some oats, with oat milk, some honey, a little bit of banana, not too much, but I kind of feel like maybe I had too big a brekkie. Like, it took a while to settle. I was like, I ate it all. I was like, that's going to be pushing it. But then just some cold brew coffee. Like, I actually got some cans.
Did you have a coffee before?
Yeah, just my old faithful little cold brew cans from BP. Must be, the fourth sister, the Balmain one. We call it grenades because they're so strong. So it was nothing special. And then I think the last hour before a race always kind of disappears so quick. I just ended up getting down to the line like pretty last minute and just going for a couple laps of the oval. Then it was just into it, so there wasn't much time to stress, which is cool.
What about you, Bridie?
Oh, that's the way. Awesome. Pre-race brekkie for me, just cornflakes, goat's milk, bag of pretzels. I was just going all carb. Yeah. And then, same as Michael, just that cold drip coffee. Nothing beats it.
Perfect. So did it warm up during the day, or was it kind of nice, perfect running conditions most of the day?
Depends who you talk to. I feel like talking to Esther, who obviously ran an amazing time as well. She was like, the weather was perfect. It was so cool all day. Whereas in my head, I was like, I feel like the first 6 hours, the weather was cool and amazing. And then the last 4, I felt like the humidity cranked up and it got tricky. But what was your take on it, Bridie?
Yeah, I agree. Like, I kind of thought it was perfect running conditions, but then coming up probably out of Buckland the last time, I would have loved an ice bandana at that point. Like,
yeah.
Well, it was she's got a Western States in her, so I guess that's normally pretty warm running that. So maybe, I guess compared to that, it probably felt quite air conditioned.
For sure.
And then based in Hong Kong, I think, so probably the humidity, well used to it, I think, and plus the extra bit over there. But I think it did get challenging late, like for sure. Like, I had an ice bandana probably for the last 3.5 hours, and I felt like it was really important.
Yeah, right.
Were there any parts of the race for either of you that you felt like things might derail and you kind of got it back on track, or it was a smooth sailing?
Do you want to go first, Bridie?
Yeah, sure. Well, for me, it was actually pretty early on that things got a little rocky. I was coming up Big Walk and could feel my foot going off, and so I just started trying to retie my shoes and did what I could, but realized pretty quick that the plan was going to be out the window. And so when we got to the top of Big Walk, climbing was okay, But as soon as we got on the road, the volunteers told us, stick to the side of the road, and the off camber was just really bad. So yeah, kind of just hung on to the horn, and that's where I kind of waved goodbye to to Esther, who I'd been chasing, and yeah, just kind of had to survive. The climbs I pushed where I could, but descending, just kind of going to some dark places to get through. I guess, yeah.
You did get through. You did great.
Yeah. So Bridie, you had Esther in your sights for most of the race up until the horn then?
I did, but that was literally just by chance because my strategy was climb how I could and then fall down the mountain, and hers was keep it controlled to the horn. So, she wasn't pushing at all, and when she turned around there, I knew I had no chance.
Yeah, well. And so Anna McRae came third. She was certainly moving through the field throughout the day. Did you sense that she was quite close to you, or were you pretty unaware of where everyone else was?
I wasn't really aware of where others were. Esther was, what an honour to even line up with her. She's been one of my inspirations since I'm years and years looked up to her. So to even brush shoulders with her, that was wild. And then coming up to clear spot, my coach kind of told me where people were, and he was like, okay, you've got 20 minutes, half hour on third place at clear spot, and I only had middle track kind of to get down. The only issue is, middle track's fairly steep downhill. So that ended up taking me an hour 40 for about 7 or 8 Ks of just death walking kind of down it. My legs were okay, but the foot was shot. So that was where things started to heat up. And my coach actually drove past with 3K to go. He happened to go by on the road and he just yelled out, she's closing in on you. She's going to catch you. So that was the point where it went from hunting to being hunted, I guess, and I kind of just sprinted. Yeah.
And what about you, Mo? Did you have any low points?
Yeah, no, I really did. I think I guess my first low point was maybe I was a bit behind Tyler coming up to the big walk, and that's high 20 Ks into the race, and it's the main big climb, and I called out to Tyler, and Tyler said, I'm going to do my own thing here. You're welcome to pass me. Just let me know when, or if you want to. And I ended up going around just to get clean kind of trail to hike, my own pace. It wasn't with any intention. And I looked behind, and Mike Carroll was storming up with really good hiking form and poles. And I just I'd thought to turn around because I heard a different sound of clinking poles that wasn't Tyler's. And that shocked me because so I think mentally I was oh goodness me, Tyler and I have gone out too hard for the first 30. Mike's paced it really, really well, and he's about to just blow past me on the big walk. And then so that I guess I basically ended up running most of the all of, I guess the bottom 2Ks are quite hikey, but then the rest of the big walk is an annoyingly runnable grade, even through the Rocky Mackie section and stuff. So I just kind of made a pact I was well, if I'm running at the top of my pacing strategy, if someone's going to bridge a gap, maybe that will push them over where they should be running. So I just worked on that, but that was scary mentally because I felt the race was about to get really interesting. And then I think probably all the way through to 7 hours, I ended up feeling really, really strong, and I was having an awesome day, probably the best 7-hour patch of running in a race that I've had done. And then I was running down the big walk, and I thought of getting an ice bandana at the top of the big walk, but I was just a bit late and we didn't have one ready. And then about halfway down, my stomach started just becoming really tight. And I've had that in a race before, and it was also a really warm race, and it was getting humid. So I was getting a little bit worried because I was being limited by my stomach kind of just really just tensing up. It wasn't I felt nauseous or anything. But then anytime I started to try get a lot of nutrition in, it just felt a bit more difficult. So then downhills became the issue. My tight core was actually limiting my ability to run properly on the downs. So then I started trying really hard on the ups to push well. So over Keatings I ran quite strong, and then on the downhill again I was grunting and kind of making all the sounds because my stomach had locked up again. And then I think for the last 2.5-3 hours I didn't really get much nutrition in, and just kind of my mental chatter was thinking I'd slowed down a lot, but realistically if you're walking fast up Dingo Ridge it's still a good pace. So I think I was a bit probably a bit harsh on myself because I actually didn't really while it wasn't as strong as maybe it could have been if you kept your nutrition, the mental noise became pretty negative and I had to lock in. But yeah, likewise with Bridie, like middle track was not glamorous at all. That's 94 Ks into the race, and my difficulty was a bit different in the sense that like my body felt okay, but I think just not from getting nutrition in, like I started to become like quite dizzy and just like slow mentally, and running down like a technical downhill, which is 2 for 500 down and with rocks and stuff. I just like was like trying to stay concentrated because I was like, just don't fall here. So it's just, the last 3 hours were just a completely different race, like as hard as any 3 hours I've ever had in a race. So it was almost a bit like funny because I knew like I'd done it to myself just from trying to run so hard for the first 7. But that was kind of the goal, to see where, if you could go a bit stronger in the 100. So, yeah.
So, Mike, you use poles for the race?
Yeah. So
what percentage do you reckon you use the poles out of that?
Probably like I use them all the way up to Clear Spot from Bright. So whenever we're climbing there, so that's maybe an hour climb. And then I think I use them up Keatings as well, which is a 3K climb for about 300. And then the big walk I use for the bottom 2Ks. And then the rest of the big walk, I actually put them away. And I think that's the benefit of getting out and wrecking that, because I think it's almost a grade where I think having your arms free, it feels a bit more flowy, like just mentally to run, because it actually surprisingly has some downhills and like some flowy sections. So through the main section of the course, I didn't use poles at all. And then, back coming to Dingo Ridge again, I used poles. So realistically, I probably only used poles on the stuff that was like 10 to 15 plus grade.
And only on the climbs, not the descents?
Yeah, I didn't use any on the descents, but I just not something I've trained really in training. But if things got bad and going down middle track, I probably would have pulled the poles out.
And Bridie, do you use poles at all, or you're poleless?
No, I've never trained with poles. I kind of find it tempts you to power hike when you could be running sometimes, but definitely like something I need to learn for, the races out in the Alps. Like around here, most of my training's done on mountain bike tracks that are really short and steep, and you have to do a lot of repeats to get any vert. So definitely something I want to learn for sure.
And tell us a bit about your nutrition strategy. Like, do you have a set number of carbs you're trying to get in an hour? Tell us a bit about how you went about it.
Yeah, nutrition-wise was dead simple, literally. So I normally aim for 100 to 130 gram of carb an hour.
Wow.
Which is pretty high, and that's all precision. Knock on wood, never had any trouble keeping it down. And I go for about 500 to a litre of water. Should have had more. And that's always got the 500 tabs. Try and have 500 to 1,000 milligrams of sodium in whatever I'm taking. And this race was interesting because it was my dad came out and crewed me, as well as my coach. And they decided that they were going to try and run me through the aid stations. So it was great, but I yelled out what I might be needing, and they decided to just go with their own kind of plan. So I never really knew what would end up in my vest. But no, so it came out okay. I think I got about 100 gram an hour, and literally straight up all precision.
Well, it takes any decisions out of the mix, I guess.
It sure does,
And Mike, do you have obviously you struggled at the back end getting more carbs into you, but did you have a target that do you have you try and get 100 grams, 130 grams, 80 grams? What do you do?
Yeah, I kind of was alternating between I was always keeping my drink mix the same. So I was having 75 grams of carbs and tailwind in a drink mix in a flask. And then I would have either a 40 gram gel, and that would either be I was alternating between a Morton gel or a Sports and Science, one of the Beta Fuel gels. And then the next hour this was more to try simulate fueling for a longer race. In hindsight, it was probably my downfall but I was having 25 grams of a rice bar, and I was splitting it in half. So having one at the first half of the hour and then one in the back. And that went well. I had 105 grams for 7 hours straight. But I think I had done similar before in Madeira, which was a 10-hour race as well. But I think the intensity at which I'd run that race 2 years ago versus what I tried to run this race at, like I would have been much better off probably on a liquid like strategy. I think it just would have been easier for the stomach, like just liquid and gel. Whereas in slower races where you're running for 20 plus hours, like a miler, I think the solids really come into it. But you're physically moving slower, that I think you can digest it a bit better. So I think in hindsight now, I was like, wow, like I probably would have had no issues if I just went tailwind and a couple gels.
I love how you said that's your downfall, because you still got first by over 35 minutes.
Yeah, there's always a room for improvement. But yeah, I think in my head, that's the only thing is I'm like, like
I've got to ask, were you running scared at all, Mike, out in front?
Well, I was running scared for a very long time up to the horn, I think, just because I knew having so many good runners behind, and it's an out and back as well. So I think there was some incentive to try get like a bit of a gap so that you can go past them at the out and back with enough distance that they might be going, that's a big gap. I kind of, it's almost an unfair advantage too, because I filmed last year and I noticed like how the race played out with last year, like whoever was at the horn first, kind of like Cecilia and Owen Davies, like they both were at the horn first and they both ended up winning. But I think from past race experience too, in races that hit the halfway point at the high point, I feel like you have to take a lot of risks on the downhill section of the course to bring back a gap. So the part I was running scared was someone told me that the gap at Clear Spot when I was maybe at 80 something Ks was 39 minutes to the second male. They never said who was the second overall. And so I was like, sick, I've got like 8 Ks left and I've got 39-minute lead. Like I just need to not fall on my face pretty much. And but then I got to the bottom of middle track and I saw James Sieber and he let me know that I said, how far second behind? And he goes, oh, like Esther is 20 minutes behind you. And my brain just spiraled and was like, well, how long ago was that? Like Esther could have done anything between then. So I tried pretty hard on the flats through town to try and make sure, because I was actually like my brain was telling me like there's every chance she's just gonna breeze past you. Yeah, especially when like Joe Dorf, the course director, like I always have chats to him, and for the last like 6 months he's been telling me how amazing Esther is and all the achievements and stuff like that. And like even to back up Bridie, Joe messaged me today and her ITRA score for her race at Buffalo this year was the highest ITRA score of any woman in 2025. So yeah, and she's now the 6th ranked female trail runner in the world. So yeah, you had some tough competition, Bridie. How pretty cool, but
oh, it was amazing. Literally, we were coming down. Is it Snake Ridge down from Clear Spot?
Yeah.
We were coming down there, and I had got to Clear Spot like with her pretty much, and then she just dropped down this mountain, and I was like just watching and admiring. Like she was dancing down those rocks. It was amazing.
Yeah, even like the day after, just after the event, and then how she's walking around the day after and stuff like that, or then even getting back into training the next week. I was like, oh, yep.
Yeah.
Seasoned veteran.
That's it.
Yeah, crazy.
So, Bridie, you're 19. Did you expect to, like, I don't know, did you hope to podium? Did you expect a podium?
Oh, I had no expectations. My first 100 I did when I was 17, so it was like 2 years ago. And then last year pretty much had to ride off to injury, unfortunately. And so Buffalo was actually like a check-in race. I had a few months off, like fully off running for the injury. And then I had 4 months back into training before Buffalo. So it was pretty tight. Yeah, it's just kind of check systems. And I got a new coach. So my strength coach, Dylan Gull, he's amazing. He got me through the injury. And then I started with Quinton Gill literally 8 weeks before Buffalo. So yeah, it was all kind of jam-packed, and we were just going to put down a race and see where everything was at pretty much.
Yeah, great.
And how's that working for you? Have you got another one coming up, if that was your check-in race?
Yeah, big goal this year is going to be GPT miler. So yeah, absolutely stoked, and kind of everything leads into that. Yeah.
So Bridie, you mentioned that your foot was giving you problems during the race, but you've just come up and done a stint in the Blueies this weekend, just passed, so the foot can't be giving you too much trouble anymore.
It's actually an ongoing thing. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's called an accessory navicular. So I actually have an extra bone in the bottom of one of my feet. And so I have to I've tried orthotics and things, but I'm gonna keep asking around. It tends to not bother me, unless I get into super intense downhill. So I've been working on my form a lot with Paul McKinnon's program. He's called a balanced runner. And so, yeah, just trying to literally work on everything I can to get the body strong and moving well, because if I can hold form and not start falling out or lagging, it's kind of okay, kind of manageable. Yeah, anyway, it's just kind of a weird thing.
How are the new shoes working out for you?
Oh, yes, they're beautiful. So very much influenced by you guys. Tried the Prodigios.
So I have customers in on the weekend. You're my new favourite person.
What shoes did you buy?
Prodigio Pros.
Oh,
yes.
And what did you race in, Mike?
Yeah, the Prodigio Pros. Yeah.
Well, they're pretty good. So, so Mike, do you have another race before UTMB, or is that?
Yeah, that's it.
How are you feeling about it all now?
It's definitely been a really positive step in terms of, I think my biggest concern going into UTMB was how I'd fare if the race went out really fast, which it is going to go out really fast.
Yeah.
So that was I think in the past I've always raced more conservatively from the start. And I think a big grey area for me has always been that my heart rate, usually I'll pace by heart rate, but heart rate at the start of the race, doesn't really indicate your effort. So I think I think just because if you're feeling any nerves or adrenaline or anything like that, I think it will bump it up potentially from my experience 5 to 10 BPM, and then maybe you'll settle in the next 2-3 hours, or say for example if you're next to a friend and you're chatting away and stuff, your nervous system chills back out, and then you basically see that it might look like it does on training for the same effort. And I've seen that at different events like GPT at the start. I had zero expectations and it was so long, and I'd done the recce. I was like this is the longest race ever. You can just walk out the gates. And I found straight away my heart rate just seemed normal, but maybe because I just knew there wasn't any rush. Whereas in the shorter stuff, I think the heart rate seems a lot higher. Or when I was overseas and putting a lot of pressure on myself, my heart rate was, I remember running up the first climb and all the leaders just disappeared, and I looked at my heart rate and I was at the top of what I was going to race at. And so I think, learning to kind of take it with a grain of salt at the start of the race and match it up with hey, that's the top of my pacing strategy, but I feel comfortable, I'm not breathing. So that was a big, I guess getting over that was, a big step for me. And then, nutrition wise, I mean, there's obviously a bit of, I don't even know, what I was doing nutrition wise could be perfect for a UTMB where it's a longer race. So I think, but in terms of just running fitness and also just, I guess, figuring out those little things about going out harder and backing that, you can recover if you go out hard at the start. I think feeling, really excited for UTMB. So looking forward to getting a bit fitter before then and having a crack.
Do you have your training program dialed in for now training for UTMB?
So it's I guess the next month is looking more at, I guess, building speed. And when I talk about speed, it's a lot to do with uphill speed. Obviously it's a very steep race, but I think the next month will be not as intensive on the volume, but looking at more quality in sessions. And then, I guess after that, looking at through July and August, there'll be quite a massive block of volume. And I just booked flights last night to go over. So I'm going to head over on the 23rd of July. So I'll get 5 weeks before the race there.
Oh, brilliant.
5 weeks. Right.
Yeah. So I've never been, so I'm equal parts excited and equal parts daunted. Jeez. Yeah, I'd love to. I'm hoping to get over and do a full course recce pretty early before, if I could do that, and then I might even potentially like look at not being as in the noise of Chamonix, where there's a billion runners looking to do the same thing. So yeah, the plans well over aren't exactly too fixed. I'm not the best at making plans far out.
But what I found, what helped me, for what it's worth, is like running the areas that in daytime that I was going to run at night. I don't know. That just seemed to like knowing that you could still recognize where you were and all that sort of stuff, but you kind of, I don't know. It just seemed like in the middle of the night, you kind of still knew what was coming and very familiar. Whereas I think if I'd only run it during the night, I would have not remembered it like I did.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. I've definitely found that from any time doing longer races where they go through the night, is that even if you see one landmark and you know where you are, like if it's really challenging or something, you're like, oh, this is challenging, but there's a runnable section in 2Ks from here.
Yeah, I think it was the Col de Seine or something, where I went up there in the practice run and then started heading down the other side, and then took me straight back up into this other really steep section that was really technical and stuff. And in the practice run, it totally did my brain in. But in the race, because I'd done it, I knew it was coming, so I was ready for it. And I saw it screw up all these other people around me. But yeah, just having that experience is good. So I'm glad you're going early and getting plenty of time on course. So that's a good decision.
Thank you.
Gosh.
Yeah. But yeah, I totally agree. I think like if anyone has the chance to do a course recce, it's so valuable. Just knowing what to expect. Like if a section's really hard, you get there and it's really hard, but you expected it to be hard, so you're okay.
Yeah, I was just going to ask Bridie that. Are you planning to get down to Halls Gap and do some course wrecking of GPT before race week?
Yeah, definitely. I've actually signed up to the camp as well, so Joe got me in for that, which will be amazing. And I'll probably try and go at least once or twice solo as well to just, I think there's so much value in getting to know the course, but also just getting a feel for the place, like what it's going to be like, what the country's like, what the terrain's like in other areas. Because I think there's so much power in knowing the course, but also in keeping a bit of it in mystery, because then it's exciting, what's around the corners, what's around the bends. So yeah, I'll definitely be going down a bunch of times. And Michael, I wanted to ask you if it's okay too. How do you go with heart rate drift, like over 10 hours? Because I found that after maybe 7 hours or so, I just can't pay attention to my heart rate. It just,
Yeah. Do you find it drifts upwards or?
No, it just kind of almost doesn't seem accurate. Like, I don't know whether I need to. Yeah, I only use wrist-based, so I guess that's my first flaw.
Yeah, I think you're definitely onto something, because I think in like even for example in the back end of 100, I think it'll be harder to get your heart rate up than it is at the start. So in a miler or something like that, like you can be at the back end of a race and be pushing really hard on an uphill, but your heart rate just doesn't get to anywhere near it like should be. Like I remember in some races, like running up things in the back end of the race where usually if you're doing it on fresh legs, you'd be in a tempo, but your heart rate might not get above 150. And it's just because of like, perhaps like, I don't know the exact reasoning behind it, but I've seen it in every single race. So I think you're right. Like, I think maybe the first section of your race is like good to pace or look at heart rate. I agree. Wrist heart rates, like I personally think like a chest strap or something's a bit more accurate. Even sometimes a chest strap can be dodgy and you have to tune out. But yeah, I think in the back end of the race, it's more to feel for sure, because the numbers start, not adding up with actually like the pace you're moving, which is really interesting.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
And they're a lot more accurate, and they're not as annoying as a chest strap.
Yeah, that's right. Those new Kuros ones, is it?
Yeah. Like the chest strap was driving me nuts, and so I went to the armband. It's so much better, and it seems to be very accurate.
Yeah, cool. I'll have to give it a shot.
Yeah, well, Bridie, you're so young. I'm really curious what a 19-year-old thinks that's just smashed a podium at Buffalo. Like, where do you see you taking this sport? What's your thoughts about the future?
You've got 5 decades left in it.
Oh, look, as far as I possibly can. For me, it's just all about having the joy in it, loving the training. I'm definitely one of those people. I'd prefer to have 2 races that I can hurl myself fully into rather than race 100 times in a year. And so, I just want to see how far I can take it. Yeah.
Well,
and obviously, Yeah.
Yeah, keep going.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. The shorter races don't interest me as much. I feel like if you're gonna train up for something, then the long stuff really draws me in. Going around, you just get to feel the place and travel it on foot. Like, yeah, it seems so simple, but there's so much to it. Yeah.
Do you have any bucket list races like for further down the line?
I would love to go to Madeira just because it
Wow.
sounds unfathomable, like brutal. And then, yeah, who can go past UTMB, like closing the loop as well? And I mean, you asked me 5 years ago and it was always GPT. So to have that literally in the sights now is pretty hectic. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Madeira is so cool. Like, you definitely should check it out as well. It's yeah, that place is such an awesome spot to experience as well. And then, yeah, just going from sea level up to the top of the mountains and then back down to the ocean again is crazy.
Yeah, and even like just the extremes, all the temperatures and crazy environment that you travel through, it just looks like nothing else.
Yeah, they're so supportive too. It's such a good vibe. Like, I remember when we did it, like we only did the shorter, we didn't do the full length, the main premier race, but it felt like, yeah, our very saying after it was like, oh, like I thought, like, everything was not going to be as good as like UTMB or something, but like there's people lining the streets cheering you on everywhere, and you're just like, well, why do we have to do UTMB? Like, that was like everything we could have asked for. So yeah, it's real wicked.
Amazing.
You're hitting the Mecca this year, Mike, with UTMB. What's after that? You're still young as well.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of an open-ended question, because I feel like the likelihood is after UTMB is that you'd need to do something potentially at the end of the year to try to qualify again if I wanted to do it next year. So that opens up a bit of like a door towards, I'm not sure, like it depends how tired after that I am, but Joe's been like hip and shouldering me at GPT. I also know how long it took me to recover from GPT. I feel like I was a bit of compromised like 8 weeks after that, so I'm not jumping into that too soon. But I like the idea of if I didn't do anything at the back end of this year, of trying to go and have a really good crack at like Madeira Island 115 in April next year. That's like a big bucket list race for me. Yeah, it's got all different types of running as well, really specific to the Blueies because it's got heaps of stairs. Like, I feel like the Blueies is like our little version of the Madeira trails. But then I also get excited by races like Grand Raid Reunion's always been like on my brain as well, and then also Fuji. But then, yeah, I think they're all. What's that? Sorry.
What about any in the USA?
Not yet. I've always wanted to do like hard rock, but that would be mean you need to do a hard rock qualifier first, which means a big adventure before that. But yeah, it's tricky. I think the two big ones is like I'd love to keep having a shot at UTMB, but I also would like to do Madeira Island, the 115. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, guys, I just want to thank you for your time today. It's been amazing. Thanks. Yeah, congratulations on your amazing results. Bridie, we do have a question for you.
Yeah.
What's your favorite run in the Blue Mountains?
Ooh, favorite run would have to be Kadumba Solitary. That's there's no climbs like that around here, and it's just iconic.
Good choice.
Yeah, there's so much hype around Lockley's Pylon as well. Like, it seems this whispered name, but I haven't been up there yet, so I'm really curious to do some running down in the Gross Valley and Lockley's at some point. But yeah, it'd have to be Solitary Kadumba in the early morning when the sun's going across. It's pretty magic.
Yeah.
Did you get to do that on Saturday?
No, we did the 22K course. So across, started, and then down into the valley and then Federal Pass and back up like cliff track there. Yeah. It's very cool. It's all beautiful anywhere you go out there.
Oh, awesome. Congratulations, guys, and thanks for your time.
Cheers. Thank you all.
Thank you. Such an honour.
Yeah, we'll track you as you go into the next part of the year. Yeah,
and drop in and say hi when you're next up in the mountains, Bridie.
For sure. Oh, such an honour to speak with you guys and you, Michael. Like, my God, thank you.
Thank you, Bridie.